Hello, Serge here from the back porch. Today's question relates to a daily video that was done where I answered the question about a player who was having a problem of hitting the ball high in the club face with his driver and what could be some of the issues. And in that I said, wrong timing sequence, up and moving ahead, outside in swing, alignment out too far. In this case, if he was a right-hander, aiming out to the right and coming over the ball to clear to get back to the line, all those issues. And this question comes from Gil, and referencing my comments about that question. And Gil says, "Great advice, Serge. However, the issue of tee height wasn't addressed, as I thought you might. I was having an awful time with my driver until I started using tees with graduated height marks on it. I played around with different heights until I found the perfect tee height for me and my swing. It made all the difference in the world, and now I approach the use of my driver with a heck of a lot more confidence, which breeds more confidence. This aspect of use of proper tee height doesn't get touched upon very much, but it can make a huge difference. By the way, I addressed the same issue with my fairway woods, which I use off the tee on shorter holes, and these two were a real difference maker. I'd suggest to anyone to take some time to examine the tee heights of your woods and what works best for them. As we're all aware of, the toughest distance to conquer is the 5 inches between our ears, and this facet of the game is very worthwhile. Thanks again for the info, Serge, and love the wardrobe." Okay, I try hard on the close, but Gil, you're right. Tee height can make a big difference. In fact, I think one of the biggest places where we need to worry about tee height is when we tee up our irons on par threes. Now, many times, every now and then I get a question that says, should I even tee a ball up on a par three? And I always go back to the famous quote that Ben Hogan said when he was asked one time. He said, why do you tee your ball up on a par three? Most of the guys just walk up, throw the ball on the ground, get themselves a pretty good lie and hit it, but you always tee it up. And Mr. Hogan's answer was, because I play for money. All right, and so that was a good answer, but I think it circumvents the true answer, and that is, because if you tee it up, you reduce margin of error. You reduce the chances of chunking it too much or whatever. But the key still becomes that if you tee an iron up too high, there's a very high probability that, just like a driver, you hit it up high in the face, you're missing the sweet spot by so much, and you're going to hit basically a pop-up that has very little, that has a lot of height but very little projection out there, and it's going to come up way short of its mark. So again, iron should only be teed up, maybe just a quarter of an inch, 3/8 of an inch above the ground. And I think that the more loft you have, the closer you want it to the ground. But that little bit of tee can help you improve that margin of error and reducing that margin of error. And so yeah, tee height's important. But I am going to put in my little I guess sales pitch here about the fact that if you listen to the one and do one of the prerequisites of the Serge swing, which is in the setup about the wide knees, outward pressure, and you're very quiet with your knees. The knees are your levelers and stabilizers. They will maintain your levelness and stability throughout the swing. And if you don't move your knees too much and you keep them level, especially where you sit or sink into the backside and then swing into it, you should be able to hit the ball no matter where you teed it up on the tee, because once you address it, and if you set your posture through the accordion effect to wherever the ball is, so even if you teed it up that high and you set it up at the ball. Now, like if you've ever seen me hit golf balls, when I tee my drivers really high, I don't tee the club up to the ground. I tee it up to where I address it, not at the ground, but up where the ball is, because that sets all of these angles for me to be able to return there. So if I set it up to the ground, then I would have to make an in-swing spinal adjustment, height adjustment, and there's a very high possibility you'll do too much, too little, or anything in between, rather than just get the right exact amount. So I think the key is when you maintain the wide knees outward pressure, and you keep your levelness in your legs, your knees are your levelers and stabilizers, then you're going to keep your spine more still, you're going to keep your center of your swing more still, and your focus will remain constant, and you'll be able to return the club right where you started. So yes, tee height's important, but I think what's more important is your setup, because your setup determines the motion. And so get into that proper setup, and you should have no problem that no matter where you tee it up, if you keep the wide knees outward pressure, maintain your spine and your swing center, you should return the club to the ball every time. Okay? So yeah, tee height's important, but let's not forget posture. All right? Well, that's it from the Serge for today, and I'll be talking to y'all again soon.